You should try the new Taco Bell Reaper fries.
What?
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're packing our bags for San Diego Comic-Con.
Whoop whoop.
That's a literal thing. I'm literally packing my suitcase upstairs. Warner Brothers announces HBO Max streaming service.
To the max.
Yeah, they only had one X on here, and I'm really disappointed. Like,
yeah, whenever I hear the word Max for branding purposes, I always give it that kind of like 90s grunge Max feel to it. I don't know if anybody else out there
Sunday.
Exactly.
Zack Snyder is making a Norse anime on Netflix.
Whoa, that sounds like somebody's like spinning a bingo wheel, if you will. Like, ooh, where's this land?
Yeah, exactly. They threw darts at things that are working right now. And more.
And more, that's right. We are just mere days away from San Diego Comic-Con. It's going to be the first time ever where your two co-hosts are going to be there in person, in the flesh, which makes it even more exciting because on next week's show, we will be doing our annual Comic-Con wrap-up, the biggest day of the year when it comes to news, I would say. There's going to be lots of exclusives, lots of experiences we're going to chat about, so you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed. And more importantly, we're going to be recording that episode in person. We're not going to be connected via ones and zeros for that episode. So I'll be looking at Chris right in his face when he tells me I'm wrong about something. So we'll see how that changes the dynamic of the show.
Someone did bring up this weekend. We did do one show together, and that was my wedding show.
Yeah,
but that was a very awkward roundtable thing. So I don't consider that a real show.
I don't consider it awkward at all, Chris. I consider it a supreme episode that everyone should go back and listen to. But it's not. It's almost like not canon to the Superhero Slate, if you will. Yeah. It's a different format. We were in a kitchen, so this will be in a more studio-esque environment, sticking to the format of the show. I'm looking very much forward to it.
Yes, I've got to remember to pack my microphone. That's on my to-do list as soon as we get done today.
Yeah,
put it in the case.
I don't want to stress Chris out too much since he edits these shows, but I think it might be fun to pick up some little audio snippets from the convention center.
Oh, God.
So,
no, I'm kidding. You're literally reading my mind. We were talking about giving stuff out at Comic-Con. So if you're at San Diego and you listen, find us. We're going to give some stuff out. I'm thinking about, like, if I could get, oh, hey, look, it's Kevin Feige walking down the hallway. Hey, tell everyone they should listen to Superhero Slate.
It's just that easy. He's just walking around just like that. But yeah, I would love to get like some atmosphere of the convention, and maybe we can kind of plug that in. Chris is the one that edits this show, so I'm putting this all in his arms. I can run around all day with a microphone and record the bathrooms if I wanted to, but it's up to Chris if he wants to slice it in. Plus, he's going to be away. He's going to be editing this from my apartment, so he's going to be out of his element, if you will. So I'm going to be taxing your co-host, your favorite co-host, I would assume, since I'm just a rambling man. So we'll see how Chris can hold up to all the stress that I put him under.
Well, that's fine. As long as Mike, I will task you then in that regard to help me with our social media stuff, because I normally do that for a job every day, so I don't think about it on my personal level. So if you can remember to post some pictures and stuff to our Instagram story, I think that might add a little to it, if you will.
I'll be all over it. That means you got to make sure you follow Chris, you got to follow me, and follow the Superhero Slate account on Instagram and Twitter. And we'll be out there on the floor. I'm probably going to take a ton of pictures of the Hot Toys Sideshow Collectibles booth, because that is my favorite booth by far. You're not really getting any sort of celebrity experiences there necessarily, but man, it's just so cool seeing these things like come to life in 3 dimensions, these like master sculptors kind of like turning these things that we love from movies and cartoons into like real life physical things. So I'm usually swarming all over that booth like every day of the convention. So you'll definitely get some pictures from that for sure. But me and Chris have been game planning like before we start recording every episode. Like we're probably already like 20 minutes into this Skype conversation right now. But just before we started recording, Chris drops like some sort of new Taco Bell item.
Oh
on
yeah,
me, like just before we start speaking the intro, and I was like, you gotta tell me about this.
Well, because if you don't know by now, the only thing thing that we talk about more than superhero stuff is food.
Yeah.
And Taco Bell, I found it this week. I went there for lunch one day. I was running a little late for work, and I didn't take anything with me, so I was like, I went to Taco Bell. It's quick, it's easy. They have what's called Reaper fries,
Ooh,
a Reaper steak burrito.
What?
So, are you familiar with Carolina Reaper peppers?
Oh yeah, they're really hot.
Yeah, so they've made the sauce out of Carolina Reaper peppers. Ooh. It's kind of like a nice bright orange buffalo-looking color. Mm-hmm. And they have it where they drizzle it on the fries, whatever. But now they have a burrito where they take these fries with this sauce, mix it with steak, a little bit of sour cream, and I think some pico de gallo, and they put it in a burrito, and you just eat this thing. Oh. It's so spicy in the best way possible.
That is so foreshadowing because, Chris, I don't know if you're familiar with this. I'm sure they're on menus around the country, but San Diego, the city that we're going to, pioneered a burrito a while ago called the California burrito, which includes fries inside of the burrito. So it's almost like Taco Bell is taking cues. So yeah, we got burritos out here that they shove French fries into called the California burrito. I believe it was pioneered in San Diego, but I'm sure somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. So man, there's so much synergy going on right now with food. And last year at Comic-Con, it was some sort of anniversary for what's the movie with Stallone? He goes, he's like frozen, like Austin Powers, and goes to the future.
Demolition Man.
Yeah, Demolition Man. It was like an anniversary for that movie, and they had Taco Bell had taken over, all of the restaurants in the future. So they had like this fine dining pop-up Taco Bell experience at Comic-Con last year where they like debuted like these Taco Bell French fries also. So those are just the crazy things that happen at the convention. So our hope is to bring those things to the podcast next week. We're going to be getting in all the nooks and crannies. If you watch The Good Place out there on NBC, there's a joke in The Good Place called the Interdimensional House of Pancakes, and they're bringing that to Comic-Con. I don't know exactly how they're pulling that off, but there's going to be a pop-up pancake place, which I think is just hilarious.
Wow. I mean, I've always heard of pop-up things. I've never really experienced a pop-up thing.
Chris, you're in for it for sure.
I'm very excited for these solo unique experiences, 100%, because it sounds like we're probably going to the biggest convention in the world, biggest Comic-Con in the world. Because I literally just went to the smallest Comic-Con in the world.
I felt the segue. I felt the segue coming.
You did. Well, you had several things because I went to Frankfurt Comic-Con, and if you're not familiar, the capital of Kentucky is actually Frankfurt. Not any of the bigger cities here. One of my favorite jokes is to get people like, how do you pronounce the capital of Kentucky, Louisville or Louisville? And they're like, Louisville. I'm like, no, it's Frankfurt. So that tells you how much people aren't really paying attention. But so we went there, so a 45-minute drive from my house. My buddy Jeremy rode with me down there. He goes to the C2E2 with me. The Marvel Comics president from the 80s and the writer, editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter was there. He wrote the original Secret Wars series in the 80s.
Oh, great.
Which has, introduces the Venom symbiote for Spider-Man. Like, it's a huge series. So we got to get some things for him, but it's literally a small hotel convention center. Like, maybe 3 rows of stuff wide. Maybe 50 foot long. It's very, very small. I kind of likened it to someone who was like going to sell like their own yard sale stuff at a Comic-Con. Yeah. And there was like one back wall full of comics, but I did end up buying I think it's a 32 or 48 ounce mug with a watercolor of the Avengers on it. It's really cool looking. But it's literally the small shows. Very affordable. I met up with my friend who's, I think he's been on the show even, listener to the show, Jason Ambrositis. He was down there. We talked a bunch of movies and stuff and comics the whole time because once we got through in like 5 minutes, I'm like, there's nothing else to do here. So we talked, and he was telling me about he went to Comic-Con San Diego in 2008 as a volunteer for Lucasfilm. So he had that experience. He's a huge Hot Toys person, huge. So we're gonna have to send him those photos, Mike, of the things you see because he loves buying those.
Oh, great.
And I had a good time with the people. And hopefully, by supporting local, they can grow and get larger over the next few years. But I tell you, I didn't think it would be that small. It was the smallest thing I've ever been to. Smaller than the one in Indianapolis I talked about last week. So I am very much looking forward to the opposite in just a few days.
Oh, man, this juxtaposition is going to be great.
I know. And so on and so forth. But you were talking about going to the movies this weekend while I was out. I was like, why is Mike asking about popcorn? Or you were saying something about the movie theater the other day, and I'm like, is he at the theater? Or is he just thinking about the theater? Because I do that quite a bit.
No, on the previous podcast, you recommended the peach cobbler mix at the Coke Freestyle machines.
Yeah.
And I tried it out, and it was pretty good. I didn't realize that it was something that you had to make. I thought it was something that came pre-arranged, which it does if you want the full sugared version. But I wanted the diet version, so I had to go concoct it myself. But it was pretty delicious. Sprite Zero Peach, and then Diet Coke Vanilla is what we went with, but that was pretty good. I hopped on the new Sour Patch train of now they have Sour Patch Strawberry, which I'm guessing they found out from their sales reports that the entire universe loves Sour Patch Watermelon, which is my favorite candy at the movie theater. So they started to move on to other fruits, which is really starting to overshadow the Sour Patch Kids themselves. But the strawberry, sad to report, not as good as the watermelon, so I'm going to be sticking with the watermelon. But this is just a tangent that we often go on the show when it comes to snacks. But more importantly, I just watched two things this weekend, tangentially and sometimes directly related to the things we talk about on this podcast. The first one, The Chef Show, which is on Netflix right now. It's Jon Favreau. If you haven't caught his movie Chef that came out a couple years ago, I believe it's also streaming on Netflix. If not, it's somewhere else streaming. It's just a little movie he kind of made in between these giant movies he's been working on, like Lion King, Jungle Book, all these superhero films. But it's just more of a reality documentary series where he takes one of his chef friends with him just around the country, visiting restaurants, like cooking dishes with celebrities. And I highly recommend, even if it's not your thing, at the very least, watch episode 2, because he goes to Atlanta and he sits down at a table at a restaurant in Atlanta with the Russo brothers, Kevin Feige, Robert Downey Jr., and Tom Holland. It was just like amazing to just watch all of these people sit down, try all of this different food, kind of just like shooting the shit. They were talking to Tom Holland about how his first audition was, about the backflips he was doing, and just Robert Downey Jr. interjecting some sass. And it was really great. It was like extremely star-studded. I wasn't expecting to see this whole table like full. And I was just trying to imagine like the waiters like serving like Robert Downey Jr. like leaning down and asking him what type of water he wanted. I was like, oh man, I'd love just to be that waiter right now. So it's really great to hear their conversations. And I picked up a little bit of history from that episode where Feige was saying he started working at Marvel back in 2000, so 8 years before the first Iron Man movie came out. Mm-hmm. And he gave some perspective saying between 2000 and 2008, even all the way back then, people were asking him, oh, when do you think this superhero fad is going to be over? When do you think people are going to stop making these superhero movies? So when 2008 came around and they were releasing Iron Man, he was just like, all right, we got like one chance here. If we can make this film really good, maybe we'll be able to make one more, and kind of then this fad will die out. Like, little did he know, like, that one little movie, he thought that barely they'd get another one, launched this entire like stratospheric like pop culture phenomenon, which it just made our show even possible. So it's just cool. So go check out The Chef Show. Jon Favreau, the basically director of Iron Man and the catalyst for a lot of stuff we talk about here, is just talking about food, and all the food looks amazing and delicious. And he comes across other celebrities too, because he's rich and famous and a director. So yeah, go check out The Chef Show. Big recommend there.
Jon Favreau's got the Holy Trinity at Disney over there. He's worked in Lion King and what was the other one he did there? The Jungle Book.
Jungle Book.
He's the Mandalorian at Star Wars and Iron Man, playing Happy Hogan in Marvel. So that guy he's Disney's golden boy right now.
Oh yeah, he can do whatever he wants, which is proof in this show, because it's edited pretty loose. So in the first couple episodes, he's kind of talking like, "Oh yeah, we don't really know what this show is for. We're just kind of filming it and see what happens." So it's just kind of like he's so rich that he can just make a show on a whim, even if it doesn't get picked up by anybody. So go check it out; it's really fun, and I love food shows in general. But the second one, Stuber, which we talked about maybe a couple weeks ago, because you had a chance to see an advanced screening of it, stars Dave Bautista, our one and only Drax, which we love very, very much, and Kumail Nanjiani, which I love, and he is rumored to be in the Eternals coming out soon for Marvel. So you got some synergy going on in this film for sure. But I tried to ask Chris on the show a couple weeks ago if he recommended it, but I didn't want to know. And then there was kind of like this weird ambiguity whether it was going to be good. So I went out and caught it. So just real quick, Chris, now you can finally tell me what you thought about it.
Oh, God, it's the worst movie I've seen this year.
Oh, wow, okay.
It is not good at all. The trailers don't sell it. The movie does not work on any level. It's not even funny. I wish I could have told Mike to save his money, but I mean, it sounds like he doesn't feel nearly as strongly as I do about it. Like, I even didn't pay for it, and I was like, God, this was awful. So that's really how I feel about it. Mike, what do you think?
Not as extreme, but also I didn't have the best time, unfortunately, because I loved, everything that was going into it. I won't spoil anything, but the movie has a very interesting and I think clever premise of Dave Bautista being temporarily seeing impaired, so he has to rely on this Uber driver to kind of get through this police case. I thought that was a very solid premise, something that you could build a movie on and be really funny, but they just pile on all of this extra complexity that does not need to be in this comedy film. So I don't know if studio notes got in there or just the writer just got a little too excited. It just got so messy to where when me and my wife were driving home from the film, like every 2 minutes we would think of something else, like, why was that in the movie? That didn't need to be there. It was just so frustrating because it just feels like if you just got in there and stripped all of this away, maybe there could have been a chance for it to shine.
The comedy could have been there without the inciting incident that you talk about, where what makes him seeing impaired. Mm-hmm. That movie could have been that much better without that little twist, I guess. Mm-hmm. Or if they would have stayed away from the police procedural portion of it, maybe a little more. Like it could have been so much funnier, and they just dropped the ball all throughout the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the characters, I'm like, why are you here? What is your purpose?
Exactly. Like, okay, this character doesn't need a daughter, and then of course the most typical thing happens at the end of the movie. So I still love Kumail. We still love Dave Bautista, but this one, just check it out. It'll probably come to streaming. It's not the worst time. Chris, you seem to have a very different opinion, but I think if you just kind of put this on in the background, maybe while you're just doing the dishes or something, I think it'll be just fine.
If I would have laughed, I would have not felt that way, but I didn't laugh at any of it, and that's the cardinal sin in this comedy movie, Mike. I didn't laugh. It's like
I'm glad at least I had my Sour Patch and my drink there. We had a big bucket of popcorn, so we had other things to entertain us.
Oh, Jesus, no. Yeah, I didn't get any of that. So that was the one. So they overbooked the theater, so they were turning people away at the door. We got in. We got 2 seats together, luckily, but the food line, it was 45 minutes to get anything through the concessions that night.
Wow.
So it was a horrible experience, but I think compounded with that as well. But that's okay.
There were some people in my theater that were ripping and roaring and laughing a lot. So I think this movie kind of might be over the map. But I think we've talked about Stuber way too long.
yeah, definitely agree. We are going to include a small, I guess, review / spoiler thing for Stranger Things season 3 at the end of the show. Yeah, because Mike wants to talk about it, and he really needs to talk about it.
My normal friendship circle core has not gotten around to season 3, or they haven't finished it, or maybe they don't watch it anymore. So I was like, I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody about this. So normally we don't usually talk about Stranger Things on the show, but we want to talk about it. It's only 8 episodes, so there's a good chance a lot of people have finished it already. So we decided to tack it on to the end of the show. We'll see how long it runs, but I want to know what Chris thinks. I want to know what it's like being in his brain watching Stranger Things, but stay tuned at the very end of the show for that.
Yeah, I don't even have Netflix and I watched it. What's their excuse?
Exactly.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Again, if you haven't heard us talk about it literally on every episode for the past month, San Diego Comic-Con is this week, July 18th through the 21st. I think it's maybe 17th through the 21st, maybe.
And I know what's hilarious is they've already announced the dates for next year's Comic-Con. So if anybody had any thoughts that maybe they would stop on the 50th anniversary, nope, they're going to go on to the 51st anniversary next year. So it's a non-stop train.
Yeah, they're not going to slow down whatsoever. So that's coming up this week. We'll be reporting the best we can. Again, like I said, if you follow me, Mike, or Superhero Slate as a whole, we will be trying to cover as much as we can, but our review episode is really the biggest thing next week, whenever we recap that. That's always been our biggest one, and only one of us is traditionally gone, so I can't imagine how long it's going to be with both of us being there. And
this quote-unquote studio that I record in is going to get very warm.
Yeah.
Even with the AC blasting.
It's so hot because we're both in one room at the same time.
Fire emoji.
Lit. It's lit. We're excited because Marvel Studios is pretty much the main presenter at Hall H and Comic-Con this year. But I've seen these things like, there are these inactive Facebook pages that are like facebook.com/The Eternals or Marvel's Black Widow. I work in Facebook. That's my job. Those means someone created that page a long time ago and have deleted it. Like, they're not hiding these pages to debut them at Comic-Con. Like, I could literally go create Marvel's Black Widow, and then if Disney was like, take this down, we own the rights, like, it would say the same error. And I'm just like, these rumors are getting out of hand about how these people are, quote unquote, finding back doors into this. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I don't think you really need any I don't think you need any more hints to think that they might be talking about Black Widow in a couple of days, because, well, yeah, they are. It's like the next movie coming out. It's filming, and they're going to be at Comic-Con. Of course they're going to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. We pretty much know we can almost lay down almost every movie announced for Phase 4, and we've tried to do it several times. There may be one surprise in there, but that's really about it at this point. Like, we're not really going to be totally blown away, but if they show some footage and some casting announcements, I'm really excited to get into that. Especially, I think we're gonna see, or at least hear about Black Widow footage this weekend, Mike. And David Harbour, doing his press rounds for Stranger Things, has come out and said he is not playing the Thing from Fantastic Four in Black Widow. And I have no idea where this rumor came from either, because I get online and all these things pop up, and I'm like,
I didn't know. I didn't know it was a rumor either. But I do kind of like this backdoor idea of possibly introducing the Fantastic Four. In my mind, all of these like past months and years, I thought when they announce the Fantastic Four, when they bring them back into the MCU, it'll be all four of them, all in your face, Fantastic Four. But yeah, it could be a strategy maybe to introduce maybe the Thing first, or maybe they just get really good casting and they just really nail one of these four. It could be Invisible Woman, it could be the Torch, it could be Mr. Fantastic. I don't know. Maybe they just nail the casting. This person is just amazing in front of the camera, so you get him in first, and then maybe at the end of the movie he's just like, I want to introduce you to my family or something like that, and maybe that kicks off the next movie. So that's a strategy I've never thought of, so that's interesting that somebody somehow created a rumor around David Harbour and the Thing.
Well, we talked about it this weekend with somebody, and I was like, you know what they don't need in the Fantastic Four anymore, Mike?
What's
An origin story. Because it worked for Spider-Man, it could definitely work for Fantastic Four. Just to skip them going to space and being hit by cosmic rays.
It's a relatively easy origin story too. It's not something like Doctor Strange where you have to introduce magic and all of these other like dimensions and sorcerers that have been around for years. Like, these are just scientists that get blasted with some experiment. In any iteration, you can just reinvent whatever the experiment is. It could be terrestrial, it could be up in space, they could be trying to use a dimensional portal or whatever.
So literally every other movie they've made so far. Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't matter exactly how they get their powers or where it happens. But yeah, just it could just be like one of them could just say, like in the third act, like, oh, didn't you also hate that explosion that happened a couple years ago? I don't know.
Well, we're in a whole new world, at post in-game. Like, anything could have happened in those 5 years, and they could just say it happened or show a quick thing and not have to spend a whole movie telling us how they got their powers, and then they finally get a control on how to stretch and turn invisible by the end of it, because God damn, have we seen that so many times. I want to see a full-fledged Mr. Fantastic just freaking stretching all over the place. I want to see how they interpret that on the screen in the MCU, because nothing's quite that wacky yet. I mean, Ant-Man gets a little wacky because he can change sizes, but that's just all about kind of like changing perspective. We haven't really seen somebody stretch like a literal cartoon character yet, so I'm really curious how that's going to play. Well, I also want to see him actually be, like, he is one of the most intelligent people in the world. Like, I want to see that portion of him too. Like, he is creating solutions for problems only he's thought of so far. I'm like, bring the scientist Reed Richards into this as well, because that's going to be really key with the the current state of the MCU going forward. So
correct.
Let's do that. But in the meantime, one of the other movies that probably announced this weekend is actually the Shang Chi movie, and we talked about it quite a bit. He is the best martial artist in the world, so much he could take on Danny Rand, the Iron Fist, with his fist even glowing, and Shang-Chi has no superpowers. He's just that good at it. But they are looking to cast an unknown actor for the title role. No one we would know, or someone that we would guess off the bat. But also, they are requiring Chinese ancestry in this actor, and not looking for other Asian ancestry even being accepted for this role. They're like really trying to stick to it.
That's awesome. And they obviously have the time and the resources and the money to make sure that this happens. I think this is a great opportunity for Marvel, because this is going to be the first time where we're going to be able to take these kind of like modern martial arts films and just pour money all over it. Because you have like these great films like The Raid, and even like John Wick has brought these things into his movie, you know, being directed by stuntmen. I feel like Shang-Chi, this is going to be the time where you can finally bring that stuff to the main stage in a real way with a big budget. You can just have all of this choreographed action, because you're going to need to sell that, because like you said, he doesn't have superpowers, so you're going to have to make him look like he is just like what does the best human fighter in existence look like, and we have to believe that he could go toe-to-toe possibly with somebody superpowered just because he's that good. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens when you just pour money all over that equation. Does it get better or does it get worse? You know?
And he is not he doesn't wear a costume. He has no mask. You can't CGI this easily. I know it's possible to CGI humans, but like you can't like build an Iron Man suit around him and just have that do all the work. So like that's gonna be, they're gonna have to really, really, I don't know, I guess front load this, or like do a lot of pre-production work to make this work in the long run, and that's very exciting for that role. I hope we see something out of that this weekend. I don't know. Crossing my fingers, buddy. Crossing my fingers. But speaking of John Wick, you mentioned right out the gate, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the upcoming show on Disney Plus, has hired Derek Kolstad, who wrote John Wick, to work on the script alongside Malcom Spellman, who has worked on the show Empire. Which is funny because Winter Soldier is kind of like that John Wick kind of character, and the Falcon's more like someone you see on Empire. So,
yeah, I mean the John Wick movies don't have the most intricate plots. They're usually pretty straightforward films. So I would assume maybe that writing style might have to be a little bit more flexible, because when you're telling like a longer story in a series, but at the same time John Wick is kind of a series in itself. We're like 3 movies into it, looks like there's going to be a 4th film, and it's this overarching story, so maybe it would work out really, really well. I wonder if maybe he can get any John Wick stunt coordinators in on this show too. That'd be rad. Yeah,
I think Derek Kolstad, I'm just double checking here, he has written, he wrote the first 2 and then worked on the 3rd one with multiple people. So yeah, I mean he's building that world, that franchise. So if he's got to play ball in here, I think he's a good choice for that. I'm excited to see kind of what that is.
I wonder if they like stole him before he got a chance to work on some sort of a John Wick streaming series. Like, oh no, we're Marvel, we're Disney, we got him first. So good for him.
Yeah, isn't there like some sort of spin-off of that coming out of there? Am I just making that up maybe?
Man, I can't believe I forgot the term. What's the term that they say the underground organization is for John Wick?
The underground organization for John Wick.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it's called.
I don't remember. I honestly, for some reason, I can't remember what they're called. But they were thinking about making a show about that. Yeah. I'm sure that's still in the mix. That world is getting so lush.
It's the name of the hotel, isn't it?
The Continental. I think maybe that's what the show is going to be called. Okay.
So there we go. Well, there we go. Some Falcon and Winter Soldier news. Maybe we'll see some of that this week. I don't know. I think Disney Plus is going to be saved for D23, and also that's where they're going to debut some of the Mandalorian footage, sneak peek exclusive. We've seen that leak stuff, and that leak stuff, Mike, that blew me away.
That looked really good. It looked very premium.
Yeah, so D23, you'll see more of the Mandalorian, but the rumored cost per episode for that show is about $15 million.
Ooh,
did that feel like $15 million though?
I mean, we had to see it through like a camera phone, so I don't know.
Like, it was mostly just I guess the writing and the filming was pretty basic on that episode. The action, I could see them in the CGI ballooning this up, but I mean, like I said, they're looking to hit hard with this, and like I said, rumor is that even Jon Favreau is working on season 2 right now, writing the script. So
and the crazy thing about this $15 million is Game of Thrones, very, very expensive show. It got more expensive as the series went on, and once you got towards those last episodes in Game of Thrones, those were reaching $15 million. The Mandalorian is starting right out the gate at that, so it just shows you how serious Disney is about this series.
Yeah, and especially if they're already banking on season 2. That's when you know they've got the Star Wars just right, Mike. Mwah, chef's kiss, if you will, for me to Jon Favreau, who worked on Chef. One of the big things about Comic-Cons are all the merch and the toys and the figures and the action stuff that gets debuted. And one of the first things debuting from the Star Wars side of this through Hasbro is the Sith Trooper from the upcoming Rise of Skywalker film. And this Sith Trooper looks like something you buy at Target, to be completely honest with you. The straight red armor compared to the white armor, and his red highlighted accessories here.
It's so funny how whenever a stormtrooper gets a new colorway, like and it's debuted either on a toy or in like a screenshot for a film, people are always like, "Oh my god, look at this brand new thing!" When it's just a stormtrooper in a different color. Yeah. Like if you were to put yourself into the fictional world of Star Wars, all it takes is just one man dumping some paint in the plastic mold mix to change how the trooper looks. So it's almost inconsequential to their universe, but we're just like, "Oh man, it's in a different color now and it's canon."
Have you ever seen the movie Grandma's Boy?
Yeah.
So it's like whenever he's like, hey, these we just color swap these two villains in different levels to show their higher power. It's just like that. Like, oh, he's stronger because he's red. The basic ones are white. So when you're playing a video game, you always go for the different colored one to take him out first. But
yeah, it looks like he's got different weaponry with him. Like he's got like 2 kind of blasters, but he's got like this big kind of rail gun, which is cool. It looks like he's got some sort of like grabby thing, and then like this kind of cool billy club sword deal.
Well,
so
I think those were handled by the some of these were in the other one. 'Cause that one on the bottom left that's got like the fork is the electric grabber they use in The Last Jedi, and the other one I think was used by the Praetorian Guards, the blade, the billy club thing. So it could be just the next iteration of the Praetorian Guards.
Well, I mean, all of those guards are dead now, so maybe these red troopers have to pick up the slack. I don't know. This seems to be possibly from the mind of J.J. Abrams, since he's picking up this third film. But not long after San Diego Comic-Con, we are probably going to be getting a new Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is what it's called.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker. We're going to get some footage. I'm guessing D23, like we talked about last week. Like that's got to be the Star Wars.
Maybe we'll see this toy come to life in that trailer.
Yeah, they're putting the toy out. They're gonna show us. There's gonna be a scene. Maybe there's a chrome red one, Mike. Maybe that's what it is.
Wow, they're just gonna put like a West Coast Customs like Easter egg in the back because it's just Pimp My Ride for stormtroopers.
Yeah, Pimp My Stormtrooper.
You get a bonus for like killing a bunch of people for the Empire, and then you get to chrome out your uniform.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's only gonna be a couple of them because they can't hit anything anyway with their guns.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see that in real life this weekend, and then or next week we'll take some photos of it. Pretty stoked. Sherlock Holmes 3 is moving forward. With Dexter Fletcher, the director of Rocketman, the recent Elton John documentary. He's signed on to direct this third installment with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law to return.
When is the last time that you have seen any of these Sherlock Holmes movies?
I actually own them both. So I watched the first one recently, actually.
When's the last time you've seen the second one?
That one's been a longer minute.
Yeah, so I had really fond memories of the first Sherlock Holmes movie. I remember really liking it, loving Robert Downey Jr.'s kind of like direction of the character and kind of bringing Sherlock Holmes to life. But since then, I've seen an amazing representation by Benedict Cumberbatch in a more modern setting, which I've really loved. So there's been a lot of really good Sherlock Holmeses out there. And then I remember seeing the second Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. And the last time I saw it was in theaters. So super long time ago. I don't remember much about it. But I remember not liking it as much because I think Moriarty had previously already been portrayed in the BBC series. So like I was getting maybe a second look at Moriarty, if I remember right. But I remember maybe not liking him as much in the film. Like he just wasn't as like masterful or conniving. I don't really remember. But I remember not liking the second one as much. So it'll be kind of curious to possibly revisit these films because it's been so long. You know, Robert Downey Jr. is such a different person in my head now, so it'll be fun seeing him return to a different role, at least that he was very, very popular in the past.
Well, after Endgame, his schedule really opened up, so he's got some opportunity to make these movies. And you know, the first two were done by Guy Ritchie. And he just recently did Aladdin, but so I really wouldn't want him to come back. But you know, they can open this story up a little bit after the the BBC one's kind of, I don't know if it's wrapped up or they're on hiatus or whatever that is.
It's that weird like BBC schedule where you never really know when they might make another.
Yeah, so
when they might make another episode.
With the what was it, the Enola Holmes thing with Henry Cavill coming out, like it's Sherlock's open territory again. So. At least if with these two Marvel stars now, Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, like they can at least draw in with the names.
I'd like to see them elevate the thing that they pioneered in the first film, where they kind of do that time freeze and like Robert Downey Jr. analyzes the scene before he like makes his punch because he's doing all this like math in his head. Since these movies have come out, that scene's been parodied so much, I feel like. And also just there's people have paid homage to it and people have just straight up lifted it and put it in their films. I feel like they need to take a different direction or maybe just leave it out of the next film because it's almost going to be like, well, you're treading ground that's been so heavily treaded since the last time you made your movie. So I'd like to see them change that or elevate it in some way. But I think that's the only criticisms I've got right now. Yeah,
they both played the characters so well. It was really fun to see their chemistry on screen together. So they can keep that up. You know, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I know you're a big fan of the Venom movie, but whether this is good or bad, there is quote unquote no timetable to make the second film per Amy Pascal. It looks like they might be not trying to hit that October goal next year. Maybe working on it a little more, trying to go back to the drawing board to make it a better film. I know it made a lot of money, but the reviews were kind of unkind.
I honestly was never expecting to see it next year. So I'm not too surprised here, but yeah, no euphemism that I can't think of right here if it doesn't come out on time.
Yeah.
No dust off my chaps, no skin off my boots. I don't know.
You won't be spitting Venom if it doesn't come out next year.
There you go.
There it is. I found it.
Venom.
Yeah, exactly. He's got Eminem over there on the other side on the mic. The streaming wars have been upgraded a little bit.
Ooh, they've been maxed out to the max.
Exactly. HBO, or I guess Warner Media / AT&T have announced HBO Max, which is their new streaming service. And we've always known they've been talking about this. Mike brings this up every week, every time we talk about DC. But apparently the new streaming service is HBO Max. It's got a logo. It's going to come out spring of next year. The channels and content on it are kind of impressive, to be completely honest, if they have all of the stuff on it. The biggest three I saw were Warner Brothers movies and shows, DC Entertainment, Cartoon Network, and of course HBO.
Yeah, there's just so much to unpack here because this is the first time a streaming service has launched that's kind of bringing in all of these different properties. Like I know Disney is doing that a little bit, but the public, at least at the very, very little bit, knows that these properties were already owned by Disney, at least in some aspect. But at Warner Media, you're just trying to figure out, okay, they own this. I didn't know that they had Turner. I didn't know they had Looney Tunes. Apparently Adult Swim's being injected in here.
Looney Tunes literally have Warner Brothers at the end of every episode. WB presents Looney Tunes. Like I don't know how you missed that one.
But you have to go through the chain of ownership. So at the very, very top, you have AT&T, which owns Warner Media, and Warner Media owns HBO. So the streaming service is called HBO Max. So then you don't usually assume HBO is connected to Looney Tunes. So there's a whole lot of like corporate ladder climbing that you have to like connect to the streaming service.
I think the only reason I don't like the name HBO Max. I think the only reason they went with HBO is because you're already considered a premium service. You have to pay extra for regardless. of what it is. And I think that's the only reason they did this, but I hate the name, to be completely honest.
I'm ambivalent to the name. I feel like they needed to use HBO in some aspects because that's their main branding. HBO is already kind of competing in the streaming landscape a little bit, not to the library catalog numbers, but when people think of streaming sites, I think every once in a while HBO does pop up in people's heads. So I think they have the brand recognition there. But I have 3 big questions when it comes to this announcement that have not really been answered, and there's been some rumors and speculation. But the first one is how is the price going to change? So right now, I don't know about you, Chris, but I am an HBO Now subscriber.
You're a Now, I'm a Go.
Yeah, which is basically Go. Same catalog, just kind of different ways into the service. So that's what I have right now. So when this service launches and I'm watching HBO through my PlayStation 4, am I just going to turn on my PlayStation one day and the logo is just going to change from HBO over to HBO Max?
You didn't read the details, did you?
Catalog?
You didn't read the details.
Of course I didn't read the details. I watched the sizzle reel.
HBO stays the same. Like, nothing changes. Nothing individual ones are, like, they're not even taking DC away. Like, DC Universe will still stay standalone for now. HBO will still stay standalone for now. You subscribe to this new service that gets you access to all these things at once.
Yeah, so that's the big point that you just bring up there for now. How long does this happen? Like, if you're competing on this big landscape with these big heavy hitters in the streaming wars, how long can you keep your service fractured? It's going to get pretty confusing, especially when you're talking to somebody out there that's not following all this news. Like, if I tell somebody like, "Oh yeah, I'm watching this new streaming show on HBO," they're going to be like, "Oh great." They're going to go home on their normal light version of HBO, and they're like, "I don't see that show anywhere." It's like, "Oh, well, I have HBO Max actually." But actually it's actually a DC show, so you don't have to have HBO. If you want, you could just get the DCU streaming app, but actually the two of those priced together, you might as well just cancel both of those and get HBO Max. It just gets very confusing. And also, I don't know how much HBO Max is going to cost. I don't know if you've seen the number out there, but I heard somebody like throw out maybe like $18. And the weird thing is HBO is already kind of at a premium price for like a smaller amount of content. They have premium content for sure that I think is worth the $15 a month. But I think at $15 a month, you can get 4K streaming on Netflix, but I think there's a $12 version for Netflix if I remember right. And also ad-free Hulu is $12. And Disney Plus is going to be $8. So if HBO is like $18, I mean, you're going to have all these brand name logos in your sizzle reel to kind of push people towards that. I would love it if it stayed at $15. If me as an HBO subscriber, I don't have to do anything and I just get more content, that would be great. But it sounds like that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, see, I think the problem with your thing is like, and you always, and we've talked about this, if you streamline it down to everything just HBO Max and you don't get the other ones anymore and you have to get it, no one's going to get it. Like, you have to keep the other ones because honestly, I'm not going to pay for HBO Max if they change any of my things. Like, I'm not going to go for it. And honestly, there's not enough choices. Like, I don't watch Friends. I don't watch Fresh Prince or Pretty Little Liars. But if I have to pay HBO Max to watch something, I'm just going to download it illegally, to be completely honest. The less you have, the more piracy is going to go up. And I don't want that. I'd rather just have the standalone options. I can just get it for a month and go away rather than pay for the big one.
And this is why I think they should just keep the price the same, because Disney Plus can charge more than $8 a month and they'll get subscribers, but they're pricing it low so they can bring in subscribers. I think that's what HBO needs to do. They need to keep it at the exact same price and then tell everybody, guess what? If you have HBO already, you're about to get 10 times more content for the same price. Is Netflix doing that right now? No, I don't think so. Hey, guess what, everybody out there? If you don't have HBO yet, now you gotta get it. If you were on the fence before, guess what? Look at all this new stuff that you're gonna get, because they're gonna need to compete subscriber count. They're gonna be battling Netflix and all of these other streaming services. Amazon Prime out there about to drop like the most expensive Lord of the Rings show that's ever existed. So I think they should leave the price exactly the same. So who knows? Will your opinion change, Chris, if you don't have to pay any extra?
If it goes with it, I'll roll with it. But I mean, I'm someone who even canceled Netflix despite not, just because I didn't watch anything. If I don't watch it, yeah, I'll cancel it. Like, it's got to have content that I really want to watch for me to subscribe to it. But just an example. Since Westworld is at Hall H this Saturday, if I want to watch Westworld season 3 and I can only get it through HBO Max, not regular HBO, I'm not gonna get either of them.
That would be a dirty move. That would be
Yeah.
a dirty move to take it away. I can't imagine they would do that. But that brings me around to question number 2 is content. You watch this sizzle reel. It is nothing but logos. The logos go by so fast, you have to have the frame-by-frame extension for Chrome to go through the YouTube video to catch all of these different logos. It's crazy. So, and you don't just get show logos, you're getting network logos. The big one that I want to talk about right now is Adult Swim. There's just this little Adult Swim logo in this whole field of this logo garden, and I want to know what is the deal there. So we got to see the Aqua Teen Hunger Force logo pop up on its own, which I was like, well, that's going to make Chris happy. I'm sure you have them all already on a hard drive somewhere, so it's probably not a big deal.
I even own the discs.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty cool that,
Yeah.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force makes it on a sizzle reel for a streaming service. So I thought that was pretty cool that they're kind of thinking of people like you and me when they're talking about this service. So, but then I see the Adult Swim logo and I was like, what does that mean? Like, because one thing that really bugs me about like Nickelodeon is they have no problem streaming their stuff on streaming services, but they put it out so little piecemeal. Like if you go on Amazon, you can only get the first 2 seasons of SpongeBob. I think on Verve, the streaming service, you can get a bolt-on for Nickelodeon, but it's like 90s Nickelodeon, and you only get like a couple seasons of like Doug. You don't even get all of Doug, which is just so infuriating. So it's like if I get HBO Max, how much of Adult Swim am I going to get? Like, hey, Warner Media, are you actually going to go all in on this, and you're going to give me everything Adult Swim can legally put on the streaming service, or are you just going to like piecemeal that crap out? Because that's going to be so annoying. Like if you're going to go whole hog on the streaming service, give me everything you legally can. Like your AT&T, you got the wallet, you own Warner Media, you own these properties, put them on here. Don't just like give me little curated lists of collections and stuff. I want it all. So that's my big question about content, Chris, is how much of these logos are we getting on this service,
And if I went through, because I didn't look at the logos. I went to the press release where all the information is, and they listed all these out. Every one of these is owned by Warner Media. So I don't see why they wouldn't have all of them on there, unless there's already a contract in place saying we're going to stream this somewhere else until it's done and then it comes back.
Yeah. Now, if once the contract expires, it comes, I'll be okay. I'll be like, they have existing contracts, it's a business. We'll wait till these things expire, because it's annoying when I see like Cartoon Network or something tweet out like, oh, go stream this episode on our app. But if I download the app, I have to have a cable subscription. I have to log in through my cable provider. Knock all of that off. I just want this streaming service, one monthly fee, and just give me all the stuff. So I'm really curious. We're probably not going to know that for a little while. So that's question number 2. And question number 3.
Oh god, there's more questions.
Which this is the last one, and this is what's going to dovetail into what we talk about on this show. It pertains to Batwoman, it pertains to Doom Patrol, it pertains to these Berlanti superhero shows. How is this stuff going to air on HBO Max? So right now they have all of these contracts with Netflix. So when the Flash season is done, the whole season comes to Netflix. All that stuff is going to expire, and then they say all of the stuff is going to come to HBO Max. But when Batwoman starts airing in the fall, when am I going to be able to watch Batwoman episode 1 on HBO Max? I know HBO Max doesn't come until 2020, but let's say theoretically it started in the fall, like at the same time as Batwoman, because eventually it'll come around to season 2 of Batwoman and we'll be in this scenario. So when episode 1 airs, do I have to wait till the next day to watch it? Do I have to wait till the whole season's wrapped up, then it comes to HBO Max? Or are they going to do the Game of Thrones route where when it airs on broadcast TV, I can watch it at the exact same time on the app? That's what I want to know, because right now when we want to watch CW stuff, we have to open up like a Chrome browser window, and we have to go to the CW website, and we have to pull up a media player to watch this stuff. So I'm excited that we're getting the CW stuff on like a legit streaming service, like without commercials. So that's what I want to know. How are they going to deal with the broadcast side of things and bringing it to the streaming app?
My assumption is going to be it's going to be on a delay, because they don't make any money without commercials. That's why HBO costs so much, because you don't get commercials during your show. And that's why you don't get any commercials really in between, except for other HBO shows. So I guarantee you it'll be similar to the Netflix thing, where it'll go all season, do the reruns. It'll still probably even be on the CW website and app for commercials, and then at the end of the season we'll all be on HBO Max.
I mean, that might be a good educated guess, but I hope that's not the route they make. I think they need to kind of take this to a new generation of I want it now. So, and of course, also if you're paying like if I'm paying like close to $20 a month for HBO Max, I do not want to wait for anything.
Well, then you're gonna get commercials. Like you can't take all these network shows that get money through commercials and advertising and just say $18. Here you go. Like you can't do that on all of these things.
I can and I will.
You won't. It won't happen. So I mean, I think this will be an on-demand kind of thing, but it will be a delay on quote unquote live stuff if they even have live stuff on there. Batwoman's interesting because it came from CBS first. How much do they have a say in all that too? So at the end of the day.
And it comes back around to Doom Patrol, which I think is what we really want to hit at real quick, is we got the DC Universe app, a Doom Patrol original that's airing on that app. I would assume when an episode is uploaded to that service, it's also going to be available on HBO Max because they're probably uploaded to the exact same CDN server anyway, so you could get it on either app. But I think over time, HBO Max is just going to consolidate. You know, they're going to bring all of this stuff in under one house. Maybe they'll tweak the price. Maybe they'll find a way to absorb it all in. But it kind of seems weird to have like these little boutique kind of just streaming services out there. Because at the very least, I feel like at some point in time, you're going to be watching like Doom Patrol on the DC streaming app, and you're going to see the pre-roll. You're going to see an HBO Max original on it. They're probably not going to brand it maybe with DC Universe anymore. So does this strike the death blow to the DC streaming app? I don't know. I think more than likely it'll just be folded into the service, and we just won't see the name anymore, you know?
I think DC was done before this was announced. I just don't think there was enough content to keep up with everything for that price point. I mean, it was what, $7 or $8 a month still, and you're only getting like maybe a new show here or there a week. I just think I don't think it has anything to do with the Max, but I think, you know, because I want to see the boutique things, because otherwise I'm just not going to pay for the whole package because they're going to drive the price up. But
yeah,
I think, well, I don't know. They canceled Swamp Thing after one episode. What's next? What like, literally what's next for them? Young Justice Outsiders Part 2 is airing right now, by the way, in case you didn't know that.
Sounds like I'll be able to get that on HBO Max next year.
You're going to wait till next year. All right.
We'll see.
Apparently you don't really want Young Justice back, like you said.
Well, I'll end it on this little sentiment, because I thought about this a lot this week, because I think about streaming a lot. The best thing about all of this in general when it comes to streaming is there's no contracts, there's no commercials. If you're unhappy with anything that you're paying for, just cancel it. And if a new show comes back, just resubscribe. That's what people did all the time for HBO to begin with. People were doing that in the early days of Netflix, you know, for like for Orange is the New Black. When that was a big show, they would just resubscribe when that comes back around. So I don't want to hear people complaining about wanting the salvation of the normal cable platform, because the normal cable platform is out of date, it's archaic, and it's awful, and you have to deal with freaking cable companies, which are the worst companies on the planet. So stop wishing for the nostalgic days of cable where you had to sit through mind-numbing commercials and you had to wait until 8 p.m. to watch what you wanted to watch, and then they barely got around to doing on-demand content when Netflix started threatening their livelihood. So just, if you don't like it, you don't have to pay for it. It's that easy. Or just pay for it for a month and then pay for another streaming service. Eventually,
who is paying you to say this? Because streaming services are the new evil. They are the new cable companies. They're not as bright and shiny as you're making them out to be.
They're not evil until they start forcing me to watch commercials. I think it's a very direct relationship. I pay them a monthly service. They give me content. There's nothing else going on there. They're not trying to subliminally message a toy or like a Big Mac into my head. It's just a direct relationship. I pay them for the drugs. They give me the drugs untainted.
Then why do you want a streaming service? Why don't you just buy the content directly from a content provider like iTunes or Amazon?
Because it's cheaper. It's cheaper. This is one big community pooling in. It's just like health insurance. If you were just like paying a la carte for surgery, it would be super expensive. But you get a big pool of people together to pay for this stuff, and we get amazing things like Lord of the Rings TV shows, or we get all of this new cool stuff coming out. So yeah, they're not evil in my mind yet. And if you don't like it, you're not on a contract. You don't have to pay for it. So that's what I like about it. So there you go. HBO Max, they're corporate overlords.
Get off your soapbox. Let's talk about Netflix.
All right. So you want me to stop talking about streaming services and to talk about the next one?
Right, because, well, this I don't have a lot of information about this. I don't know if it's good or bad, but Zack Snyder is working with Netflix to executive produce a Norse mythology anime for streaming services.
Whoa.
Jay Olivia, who is the storyboard artist for most of Zack Snyder's movies, including 300, Watchmen, Batman v Superman, is the co-creator, showrunner, director, and executive producer of this show as well. So what does Zack Snyder do other than put his name on it? Probably nothing at all. But Norse mythology, other than what we know from comic books, which is totally off base, off what really Norse mythology is, could be really awesome, but why go with the anime approach? Why not try something different? Is, I guess, my question. I know anime is good for action and blood and all that other fun stuff, but I would assume it's from the co-creator's storyboard background. They probably have a love for animation, and I would assume that just this Jay Olivia and Zack Snyder went and got coffee one day, and they're like, Zack Snyder's like, well, my name has cachet in Hollywood still. Do you want to use it to go make something? Like, oh yeah, sure. I kind of want to do this like anime series with like Norse mythology. Like, that sounds cool. I'll put my name on it. Let's go set up a meeting with Netflix. I would assume it was probably as simple as that. So if you haven't seen Castlevania out there, people on Netflix, go watch it because it's so cool. It's written so well. The animation is so awesome, so action driven. I think it could honestly be translated to live action with a bigger budget, and it would be just as good. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm all down for Western produced anime. Yeah, maybe. I guess it depends on how the story goes. But yeah, there's some new animated stuff coming to Netflix. Mike added this bit of news to our thing here. If anyone hasn't seen Shazam, it's now available. You can go watch it. I think it's physical. I think you can rent it and it's digital.
Yeah, it's got to be by now. That was earlier this year.
But one of the it was the same month as Infinity War or Endgame. If you haven't seen it, it comes with some special extras, and one of these extras was on YouTube, which Mike has shared, where the director, I forget his name, breaks down how you film something, it's not perfect right away. So what do you do when you're problem solving either post-production, during production, so on and so forth, and even like when you write something on a script, it doesn't always translate to what really gets filmed because of limitations. So
yeah, I just thought this video was just absolutely fantastic, because the really cool thing about this director is he did kind of like indie horror movies before he got the big gig at Shazam, and when he was doing these smaller movies, he had his own YouTube channel, which I thought was really cool. So when he would kind of get higher budget movies, he was still posting stuff to YouTube, so I like how he was still really connected kind of to the internet. And in this little video, he kind of puts in some little punches and jabs at CinemaSins, which usually just goes through and like nitpicks every movie, whether they like it or not. So he kind of put a dig at them, kind of explaining like, there's this fascinating moment in the movie where Shazam is trying to learn how to fly, and they achieve it in the movie by having a bunch of people basically in like green morph suits with like a green crane behind them lifting it up. And he says, like, for months and months and months, you're staring at this shot, trying to paint out every green pixel and replace the background, and you're so focused on that, you totally forget that the crew is in the background at this mall, and they're just standing there in a circle, not paying attention to anything. So you're worried that, like, oh no, they look out of place. So I thought their solution was actually really clever, where they CG like shopping bags on them and stuff, so they look like they're like holiday shopping, so they fit in the environment. But then you might have a YouTube channel like CinemaSins come in and ding them for like, how come these people in the background, how come these extras aren't even trying to watch this superhero trying to fly in the middle of their mall? CinemaSin, you've been dinged. When he's just like, dude, I've been spending my entire career trying to paint out this like dude in the background of Shazam. I'm trying to make this man fly for you. So I liked that. But I think more importantly, on the back half of the video, he talks about how, well, we didn't have the younger actress here for that day, so we couldn't shoot her on the exterior shot of the house. So we had to explain, why wasn't she on the outside of this house? And this is such an inconsequential scene, really. So they think so much about this. So we're like, okay, well, let's just make her a little slower. She's younger. She doesn't quite make it to the door on time, so she's still tying her shoes. So we'll explain it that way. And that works out pretty well. And then you have these people that make these YouTube videos where they just extremely analyze analyze videos trying to find the inner meaning of Shazam. And somebody might say like, oh, well, isn't it funny how earlier in the film, this younger girl was so slow at putting her shoes on. And then at the end of the movie, when she gets Shazamified, all of a sudden her power is super speed. Isn't that so great? The filmmaker is so deep. And then he kind of, the director himself talks to the camera that says like, yeah, exactly, that's exactly what I was thinking, which that's the part I really appreciated, because sometimes people are out there like analyzing these films, going way too far into it, pretending that they're looking at like these fine pieces of art and like these tortured souls, like cutting their ears off, painting these masterpieces, when sometimes they're just trying to get through the day. They're just trying to make sure they get their shots in time so they don't go over budget and they don't get like dinged by the executive producers above them. So I just loved everything about this little video. So go check it out. It'll give you this whole new perspective and appreciation for like these movies that are coming out. So I just, when I saw it, I just had to put it in the show this week. So go check it out. The link is in the show notes.
It doesn't make Shazam any better, but it's there.
I like Shazam. I don't know what Chris is talking about, so go watch Shazam. I liked it. Don't listen to Chris.
You listen to me, because Mike isn't thinking correctly. I don't know what he's talking about. He might not have seen the same Shazam. The Suicide Squad is on its way with James Gunn as director, and they've cast actress Storm Reed, who was in A Wrinkle in Time, as Idris Elba's daughter. I only bring this up because Idris Elba was supposed to replace Deadshot, and then like, no, he's not replacing Deadshot, he's his own character. But Deadshot, as Will Smith, had his own little daughter in the movie, and it seems very, very similar here. Why do they need young daughters to be parts of this movie if they're not playing?
It's almost like they're trying to replace the character of Deadshot without actually calling him Deadshot. Maybe there's some sort of like legal Will Smith contract. It's like, if for some reason I fall off the face of the earth or I don't want to make another movie, you can't replace me with another black guy. I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe that's in the contract somewhere, but who knows? Interesting casting.
Yeah. Not really. I don't think it's interesting casting. I think the story point's going to be the interesting part later.
The interesting casting story. I mean.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see if they do Deadshot again. Mortal Kombat is moving forward with a rebooted movie next year.
Mortal Kombat.
They'll probably have a dub.
Always
Skrillex
pops
remix
in my head. I can't hear. Just like hearing the word Max, I can't hear the word Mortal Kombat without shouting that in my head.
Yep. Actor Joe Taslim, who worked in The Raid, so obviously he's got some karate skills, some parkour skills, if you will, has signed on to play Sub-Zero, fan favorite.
Sick.
The movie will also feature fatalities and be R-rated.
I went over to a friend's place a couple weeks ago. He had the new Mortal Kombat game. And we basically just went through for like an hour just trying to see every fatality of every character. And, oh, man, they're so great. They're so satisfying. I don't know any of the characters' names, but there's one character that has like some sort of bug power, some sort of woman that turns people into a bug, or maybe she turned into a bug. I don't remember exactly what happened, or she is a bug and then also turns people into a bug. But there's this amazing fatality where she like, I think they turned a person into a bug and then she like whips a person in half and like eats them or something, and I was like, this is amazing. I was like freaking out on this couch going crazy. So I would love to see that on the big screen. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, everyone can be bugs. It can be like a real life, a real gritty version of a bug's life, told in Mortal Kombat. But
there's no way you can do these fatalities on PG-13.
No, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't even try. So I'm glad they're going hard for that, because they didn't even have any. They may have had a couple in the other movies, but like. 90s fatality? No, not even close.
I want to see spines ripping out of people's bodies and then taking the spine and using it to whip other people in the face with it. It's going to be gruesome.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be good. So Mortal Kombat next year. Now, if you haven't seen Stranger Things, this is the part where you get to turn off the episode, go away, watch Stranger Things and come back, or just tune in to next week's Comic-Con episode. I don't care. But we're going to talk about Stranger Things Season 3 that just came out on July 4th on Netflix.
Yeah, that's right. How long did it take you to finish it, Chris?
I finished it Thursday, so about a week, but we didn't watch it every day.
Okay. So you didn't quite mainline it like we did. So you took a little bit more responsible approach to it.
Yeah, I can't chug these movies or TV shows like that. So I really wanted to appreciate it, and this went from 9 episodes last season back down to 8 this. So 8's very, very manageable regardless. So we watched two a night. I think it took four days, 2 a night to get through it. So
yeah. Now I told you in the group chat, as soon as you finished Stranger Things, you had to let me know because we had to talk about this. So you're like the first soul besides my wife that I think I'm really about to talk about Stranger Things with. So Chris, please let me know your thoughts on season 3. You don't have to go too crazy into it, but I believe overall you're positive. You were positive with the first 2 seasons, right?
Well, I am not precious to Stranger Things. I didn't get on it. I was like a year late when I watched Stranger Things, the first season. So to me, it's not like, oh my god, because I hated all the 80s references beat into me. And season 3 started off with even more 80s references.
They cranked it to 11 on 80s.
It's like slapping me in the face with Slurpees and New Coke. And they had a conversation about New Coke in one of the later episodes. But overall, I think they really upped their terms, and like the villain who was supposedly the villain in season 2 actually came to fruition in season 3. Some of the characters had really good arcs throughout the whole thing. I enjoyed it. Yes, I enjoyed it. There's a lot I like about it. I can't think of a lot I didn't like about it, but that's just because I'm not picking this apart like probably some other people are. So I had a good time watching season 3 of Stranger Things. Mike, how did you feel?
Well, I'll go ahead and put the spoiler warning. I'll pop it up right now just in case something ekes out of me here. But overall, I'm in love with all of these characters. All of these characters are some of the best relationships I've seen forged on a streaming show right now. And so I really love watching them interact with each other. I love it when they finally get around to coming together later in the season, and they're all just like teaming up like, wait, you didn't know there was Russians? Yeah, this thing's back. So it's just so fun to see them pal around. They knocked it out of the park casting these young kids because they've aged really well into their roles and they're still really good actors. So I love all of these characters, but I thought the season this year was a little rough. Like, I didn't really know what they wanted to do or where it was going. It seemed like they were trying to evolve possibly what the show could be, but it's really not like it was anymore in season 1. And I just really enjoyed the vibe of season 1. Had that really dark, mysterious kind of teetering on like horror. And this year it's just very goofy. Like it gets to the point when you get to the Russians in the base below, and they're basically cartoon characters. Like, they're very much aping on the 80s interpretation of like Cold War Russian bad guys, and one of them literally basically is the Terminator, which I know Arnold Schwarzenegger is not Russian, but they just kind of looped him in with the Russians anyway. Like the torture doctor, he's like dressed exactly like how you would draw a cartoon character with like the menacing glasses and like the trench coat. And then they do even dumb bad guy stuff, like leaving the 2 kids in the room together while they leave, and then they come back later, giving them just enough time to attempt to escape. So it seemed like they were trying to pay homage to a lot of stuff, and sometimes they were just directly lifting things. So sometimes I don't know if it really felt like they were celebrating 80s, or they're just like, no, let's just straight up do it because we can't think of anything else. So that was kind of a weird tone for me to settle with. And I think just the Russian subplot is what got me really confused, because I was really digging the Upside Down. I love the mystery of the monsters, and when they would bring in these like these kind of anonymous science organizations, you didn't really know who they were or what they wanted, and it was like mysterious, like what's their global plan. And then you just bring in these Russians that they're like, yep, we just want the monster, we just want to go ahead and we want to use it for bad Russian things. And just when you think this whole Russian subplot is wrapped up, we're going to give you a little post-credit stinger to be like, stay tuned for season 4 to see more Russians. So I just don't know why they're involved in the story so heavily. It just seems like a very weird turn to take.
I think you just oversimplified it. Like, they don't tell you what the Russians want. They don't even know what they want. They're just trying to open up this to the other door, but I don't think they know what's on the other side even. And that's what next season will be. The end of this will be like, I think season 4, they said, is the last season, will be like why these holes are opening, why does the Upside Down exist, and why the Russians are involved. I think will all be answered next season. Because I think season 2, I enjoyed season 2, but like the villain of season 2, the Mind Flayer, was essentially finally, like I said, fully realized this season. Because I was more confused about him last season. Like, he's just kind of in the Upside Down, but no one was really in the Upside Down last season. That whatever that dimension is. So I think next season will answer all those questions about why the Russians are involved, why they're here, what the whole purpose of this all is when they wrap it up.
I hope it's satisfying, whatever the Duffer Brothers have come up with, because right now I'm just on the fence about it. But like I said, I really love the cast, so I'm just going to keep watching it just for them, because I just love watching. But I think they really need to find a way to break this mold that literally every season has taken, where the show opens up, there's a mystery. All of the cast breaks up into their little groups, and they all start solving this own little puzzle of the mystery. Then they all come together towards the back half of the season, and they put all their puzzle pieces together, and then they solve the problem. It's just so telegraphed now in this season. I just saw it coming from a mile away, so I just wanted it to happen already, because I wanted Dustin to be with his friends again, because I love that guy so much. So I hope they kind of break the mold a little bit in this next season and go in a little different direction. Man, Billy really got the shaft this season. He was a cool villain, but I kind of liked him more as a human villain, because he was such a scary bully. You know, he just had like this wild cardness to him that even when he wasn't being mind controlled, I could totally see him just like literally knifing one of these kids. He just seemed that psychotic. So then when the Mind Flayer took over his mind, I was just kind of like, oh man, can't he just kind of act on his own accord maybe? I feel like maybe I'd dig him a little bit more. And then when he went on his like redemption arc, I was like, is he really redeemable right now? Or is he really trying to save his sister and all of these humans? Or is he just really pissed off at the Mind Flayer and just trying to get one over on him? I don't know. But I love that actor that plays Billy. There's a lot of people are pushing for this guy to possibly be the new Wolverine. I think maybe he could pull it off.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I have no this conversation is not for me, so I don't know. I really don't care about Stranger Things at the end of the day. I've just seen it, so I think I also disagree a lot with what you're saying, because when you binge watch the show, I think you're missing all these subtle points that the show had. Like they build up Billy. Yes, he was a mean person in the last one, but he did have some human side to it. Like he was acting out against his dad. In this one, you get to see like he really was a nice kid, and he had to care for his mom, and then, you know, I guess the mom was killed and his dad remarried, and that's why the new sister, like, you see he's an evil, he wasn't evil, he was a mean person because he was raised that way. He wasn't really an evil, want to kill people thing. He was just mean and an asshole. Like, he didn't really want to kill anybody. Like, I think you've missed a lot of this by literally chugging the show in one day and not seeing the progression over time.
Well, that ain't my fault, because they released them all 8 episodes. I think the majority of the people just mainlined them. But like I said, I'm still a fan of the show. I'm still going to watch the next one. But I think the Duffer Brothers just need to kind of get a handle on it, because I'm starting to get that feeling that you had with Star Wars The Force Awakens, when you were saying J.J. Abrams just kind of built up all the stuff and didn't really know where he wanted to go or where he wanted to take it, and just Rian Johnson kind of had to pick up the pieces. I'm almost starting to get that feeling over here with the Duffer Brothers, where they're just kind of like, I don't know, let's just have these Russians come in and see what happens. So let's hope it doesn't end up going that way. We obviously never want shows to end up being bad, but I would assume that you agree with me about the fate of Hopper. I can't imagine anyone actually thinking that he's dead for sure. Like, it just seems so obvious that he's going to come back in some shape or form.
I don't know. I honestly would just like, I hope he is dead. I think that would be like actually more of a surprise.
No, there's no way he's dead. There's no way you take this major character that everybody has fallen in love with the show, and you can of course kill him if you want, but if you're gonna kill him, you're not gonna do it ambiguously, like off screen. You're gonna like see the character vaporize, or you're actually gonna see him keel over and die. It would just be so weird to do that to your audience, of not giving them the closure of actually seeing this major character die. So there's dimensions. There was a portal rift. He definitely jumped in there or something like that. We haven't seen the last of David Harbour. He's not going to be busy filming a second Hellboy movie, so he's going to have time to jump in there and do another season of Stranger Things.
So you'll think he'll be in Stranger Things season 4?
Oh, absolutely.
And you think they've planned this out?
I mean, I would put money on. I mean,
so
not
you think
planning
at
out.
the same time they've not planned season 4 and planned season 4?
Hey, I mean, come on. If you think J.J. Abrams wasn't planning out the next movies, you can just assume usually that these very popular actors are going to make it into the next movie or the next installment of the franchise. I mean, the Duffer Brothers can have like maybe not a very good handle on the plot, but know that David Harbour is going to be coming back. I mean, that dude's a star.
I think they have more of a handle going into season 4 than they did season 2. Simply because I don't think they expected the popularity and the pressure. We've had a year and a half, over a year and a half, because all these released on Halloween beforehand, right?
Yeah,
and this was the first non-Halloween.
A little over a year and a half. Yeah, I hope I don't have to wait that long for the next season. I mean, I understand it's hard and taxing to make these shows, but give me the next one next year in July. I want it already.
Well, I think the actors. I mean, David Harbour's filming Black Widow. The one main kid, Finn Wolfhard's doing Ghostbusters 2020. I think it's just working schedules around these people as they become popular is going to be the hardest part.
Yeah, that's true.
To when the next one comes out, but they say the next one's the last one, and if they know that ahead of time, they can actually end it on their own terms, rather. Because I would hate a cliffhanger ending, and then they just cancel it. That'd be the worst.
Netflix would never let that. I think this is the premium. This is the show for Netflix. Like, if you had to distill this entire streaming service down to one show, it would probably be Stranger Things. They're going to let the Duffer Brothers do whatever they want. I wouldn't be surprised if we got Stranger Things spin-offs, maybe with possibly other directors or showrunners.
We could have the Scoops Troop.
Man, give me a Scoops Troop show. I'd love that.
Also, the character who played Robin, that's Uma Thurman's daughter.
Oh my God, yeah, and her dad is
Ethan
also Ethan Hawke. I kind of had like a mind blown moment when I just like came across that realization earlier this week. I was like, what? Which kind of took the mystique from her character away, the actress, because I looked her up on IMDb because I was like, man, she looks familiar. Little did I know she looked familiar because she looks like the exact combination of her parents. That's why she looked familiar.
To me, it was her voice. She talks like her mom does in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, okay. I'll have to maybe check out a clip.
Go back to the scene when they're sideways and the chair's tied together.
Okay.
When she's talking about reminiscing back in school, that scene.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I looked her up on IMDb. I was like, oh man, this is her first real big role. Man, congratulations to this young actress who finally has her breakout role. I think she's going places. Little did I know she was always going to be going places because she is the kid of two very, very famous and successful actors. So
she's in Tarantino's new film later this summer as well.
Oh, cool.
The Hollywood one.
Yeah, I forgot what it's. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, which again, her mom was in Tarantino films in the 90s. Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction, so on and so forth.
Man, I wasn't expecting our Stranger Things topic to get so heated. I think we're gonna have to do this again for season 4.
Oh my God.
You're gonna have to keep watching it, Chris. I'm gonna keep dragging you down to the upside down with me.
I think it's just one of those things. Again, at the end of the day, it's not Stranger Things. I think it's the way we consume media determines if you catch all the little details or not. And I feel like I really enjoy Stranger Things season 3 more because I was like not cranking through it, and I was able to like sit and digest 2 episodes until the next day, and like and think about it, and then anticipate the next one. I really do miss little releases like that because I do, not necessarily the cable network, but like what was it? It's what DC Universe does it with their shows. They do one a week or whatever. So
yeah, I wouldn't mind Stranger Things necessarily one a week, but if they give me the option, I have no self-control. I'm not going to be able to make that happen. I can't survive 8 weeks with possible spoilers out there in the world. But I guess stay tuned, stay subscribed to Superhero Slate to see our little mini reviews of Stranger Things whenever the next one comes out.
Don't do
at
it.
The end
Unsubscribe.
Of the show.
Don't let me do it.
Nope, Chris, we're doing it. You can't make me.
Oh, I could not watch it. It's very easy to do that. But anyway, Mike, that's it for our episode. I gotta go pack. I gotta go through all my stuff still and get ready for this weekend. If people want to see your trip, your experience at San Diego Comic-Con, where can they find you at?
It is very easy. All you have to do is follow me on Twitter, and you can follow me on Instagram at Mike Royer Design. So check that out. Chris, if people want to catch up with you at the con, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. I'm going to be taking all the photos I can because I don't know what to expect, and I want to share this experience with everybody else out there. If people want to know more about our review episode and maybe to see the stuff we do on the main account, where can they find that at?
All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. It's a .com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcast goodness. And you can check out our show notes there too. So if you want to see that clip from Shazam, if you want to see that debut for HBO Max, if you want to see the Sith Trooper, we got that all neatly organized in our show notes at superheroslate.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you can follow us on Instagram. Get those links over there on the website. And you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We got new merch up on there. You should go check it out, superheroslate.com/store. We obviously, of course, love hearing from you. Mm-hmm. Make sure you reach out to tell us what you're watching, what you want us to watch, what you want us to check out at Comic-Con for you. Is there something that you specifically want us to talk about on the show next week? Let us know. We will be paying attention. We will be out there loving every minute of it, baby.
Wow.
Well, yeah, we love your thoughts. Let us know what you thought of Stranger Things. Are you more of a Chris on Stranger Things Season 3? Or are you more of a Mike on Stranger Things Season 3? Let us know, and make sure you're subscribed. We love getting your reviews over there on iTunes or wherever you listen to us. That's really helpful for us. Reviewing the podcast is great. It'll make us your best friend and make us best friends to us. So if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and stay tuned. It's coming. It's coming.
All right.
Next week, baby.
All right, Kramer, calm down. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Hot mics. Hot mics. Mics are hot.
I know you are.